Welcome back to the deep dive. So today we're diving into a massive career transition, that pivot from being solely a clinician to becoming a clinical entrepreneur.
Right. It's that moment where all the theory meets tax forms.
Exactly. And just for full transparency, this deep dive is adapted from a clinician-written article on Mentalyc, that's Mentalyc, and we're bringing it to audio for therapists who, prefer to catch up on this stuff while they're on the go. And the source material is just fantastic. It's written by someone who's actually been through this. We want to give a warm acknowledgement to the author, Gargi Singh, who is a psychologist.
And since the article is from Mentalyc, it probably helps to know that the platform itself is, at its core, a clinical intelligence tool. It's really designed to support therapists with documentation, treatment planning,
Right.
all those things that just eat up your time.
That administrative weight.
Yeah, it's built to reduce that.
And reducing that weight is exactly what we need to talk about.
Yeah.
Because the real insight here, the thing that hooks you when you're starting out, is that identity crisis. It happens the minute you hang your own shingle. You thought you were launching a practice, but what you actually launched was a small business.
It's this step into professional independence, and don't get me wrong, it's thrilling. But then you realize, oh, my job isn't just about diagnosis and the alliance anymore.
Right.
The article just nails it. It says the biggest hidden challenge isn't, finding clients. It's managing being the business owner, admin, marketer, biller, and janitor all rolled into one.
And that's a huge emotional burden.
Yeah.
A really huge one. I mean, you went to school to master clinical integrity, and then suddenly you're
reading about legal liability. You have to build this massive non-clinical structure just to protect your ability to do the work you actually love.
Exactly. And in a state like Texas, which is our focus today, that structural requirement is
Right.
It's layered. It's very defined.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Texas is immense. You're talking over 250 counties, more than 1,200 municipalities. With that kind of scale, things just have to be rigorous.
So who's policing all this complexity?
Well, you've got two major players. First, there's the Texas Secretary of State. They handle all the, the standard business stuff, registration, filings, that kind of thing.
Okay.
But then, and this is maybe the more intimidating one, you have the Behavioral Health Executive Council, or BHEC.
BHEC.
BHEC is your licensing and compliance body for LPCs, LMFTs, LCSWs, all of them. They're the ones making sure that while you have autonomy, your accountability is still exceptionally high.
What's interesting, though, from the source material is that even with all that rigor, Texas does try to make it accessible. They have online portals and resources.
They do, but you can't mistake that accessibility for leniency.
Not at all.
Absolutely not. The rigor is there to create that solid foundation we talked about. And we should probably unpack some of the administrative hurdles that really trip people up, the things that pull all that energy away from the clinical work.
Let's do it. Let's start with the one that feels the most removed from therapy. Zoning.
Zooming, yes.
It's step one, but it seems so mundane, yet the article points out how wildly it varies across the state.
It is entirely location dependent. You might have this perfect telehealth space set up in your home, but before you see a single client, you have to call your local planner department and just ask, can I legally run a counseling practice from my spare room?
And that's where the nuance just sucks up all your time. Yeah. The article is this great example from Dallas. Say you want to convert your garage into a therapy office.
Right. A quiet, separate space.
Exactly. But if your neighborhood is strictly zoned residential, that conversion needs a zoning variance. That's a whole legal process, city hearings and everything.
It's not just a renovation project, it's a legal one. And here's the real ticker. Even if you are 100% telehealth.
Wait, really? Even then?
Yes. Running the business operations out of your home might still trigger local planning rules. To you, you're just a clinician on a video call. But to the city, you're a commercial enterprise in a residential zone.
Wow. Skipping that step could get very costly down the line.
A surprise inspection, a shutdown order. Yeah, it's not worth the risk.
And that really drives home that you are a business owner now. Okay, so moving from the space to the legal structure. For a lot of solo practitioners, it's sole proprietorship versus a PLLC. Why does the article lean so hard on the PLLC?
Well, the PLLC is just so popular because it creates this protective legal wall, a firewall between your practice and your personal life.
Okay.
But with the sole proprietorship, it's simple, sure. But if the business gets into any trouble, creditors, a business dispute, your personal house, your car, your savings, it's all on the line.
And how is that liability different? I mean, we all have malpractice insurance.
That is such a crucial distinction, and it confuses so many new owners. You have to separate professional liability from general business liability.
Okay, break that down.
Malpractice insurance covers your clinical work errors, negligence, anything related to your professional conduct with the client. The PLLC handles the general business risks. Someone trips on your office steps, you default on a lease. The PLLC protects your personal assets from those kinds of claims.
That makes perfect sense. It's a fence. You're building a fence around your personal life.
Yeah.
And to do that, you file Form 206, pay that $300 fee.
And you're official. Then you move on to the real non-negotiables. Licenses and insurance.
Right.
And while Texas don't have a big blanket state business license, you still have to check with your local city or county. They might have their own permit requirements, but insurance, that is the most critical layer of protection.
And the article points to two specific kinds we have to have.
Two kinds, absolutely. First, the professional liability or malpractice, which we just covered. That's for the clinical risks.
And second,
General liability insurance, this covers those. Mundane, but potentially catastrophic accidents. A client falls in the waiting room. Something happens to the property you're renting. The article is so clear on this. Investing in these policies keeps small mistakes from becoming practice-ending disasters.
so let's just recap. Zoning checks, PLLC filing, state fees, local permits, professional insurance, general insurance, plus all the ongoing taxes and record keeping. That is just a massive administrative machine.
It's a heavy lift. It really is. And this is where it gets interesting, because managing that lift, all the detailed documentation you need for compliance, for audits, it connects directly back to the need for automation. This is where platforms like Mentalyc come in, not just as a nice to have, but as a real compliance tool.
So how does that actually work in practice? Because documentation, that's where clinical integrity and, lack of time often collide.
Every single one of those bodies, from BHEC to insurance auditors, they demand detailed, accurate notes. They want to see medical necessity. They want to see progress. And when you're juggling everything else, documentation can get rushed. It can fall behind.
And that's a compliance risk.
Yeah.
And it just feeds the burnout.
It's a whole loop. So the goal is to shift that burden. Tools like Mentalyc's AI Note Taker are designed to generate those structured formats, SOAP, DOP, BIRP, instantly. It pulls the content from the session.
Without storing the recording.
Crucially, yes,
Yeah.
without storing any audio, which is vital for HIPAA compliance.
And what about the treatment planning side? Because auditors want more than just notes, right? They want to see measurable progress.
They absolutely do. And so the AI treatment planner helps you create those structured, smart goals that are, well, they're mandatory for tracking progress, improving your work in an audit. This kind of automation isn't about being lazy. It's about protecting the clinical hour by making sure the admin side is always ready, always compliant.
That's a powerful way to put it. It's not just about saving time. It's about structural integrity.
Just to pause here for a second, if juggling all this, the compliance, the detailed notes, the clinical demands, if it feels overwhelming, Mentalyc, that's Mentalyc, can help. Its automated notes and AI treatment plans support your clinical judgment while staying fully HIPAA and SOC2 compliant. You can explore it and try it for free at Mentalyc.com.
Okay, so we spent all this time on the external structure, the filings, the fees, the legal shields. Now we have to talk about the internal structure, because the article makes this really important pivot at the end, shifting to how you safeguard yourself, the clinician against burnout and isolation.
It's the ultimate paradox of private practice, isn't it? You get all this autonomy, but you lose the built-in support system, the HR department, the peer supervision you had at an agency. It's gone.
The identity crisis isn't just about being a business owner. It's about being an island.
You're the sole ethical decision maker for absolutely everything.
So what are the recommendations for that? How do you fight that isolation?
You have to intentionally rebuild that community you lost. That means, proactively creating or joining peer consultation groups. And not just to socialize, but for real formalized case discussions, ethical processing.
And investing in mentorship.
And especially in that first year. Investing in ongoing supervision or mentorship when the stakes feel so incredibly high, it's critical.
The third point the article makes, and this is where that admin burden we talked about meets self-care, is scheduling and then rigorously honoring your admin time.
This might be the most practical takeaway in the whole piece, and the one people ignore the most. If you don't block out that time every week.
And treat it like a client session.
Treat it with that exact same non-negotiable integrity. If you don't, the notes, the billing, the phone calls, those tasks will spill into your nights and weekends.
Oh, yeah. It's the death by 1,000 cuts. You start skipping dinner with your family to catch up on SOAP notes. and that is the express lane to burnout.
Exactly. Defending your admin time isn't a scheduling trick. It's a boundary, a critical one. And of course, the article also emphasizes your own personal therapy, keeping yourself grounded when you're holding not just your client's stress, but the stress of running a business too.
So let's connect that back to the tools. You mentioned efficient documentation is a form of self-care. But how can technology help with the self-reflection part, especially when you're practicing solo?
Well, ethical practice requires constant reflection, right? Especially on the therapeutic relationship itself. And when you're isolated, you miss those casual check-ins in the hallway with a colleague.
Yeah, you do.
So Mentalyc has these session insights that are meant to help with exactly that.
Tell me more about that.
It lets you look at patterns in the alliance without having to rely on recordings. For example, a tool like the Alliance Genie can help surface these subtle shifts in the dynamic. Maybe there's a pattern of client avoidance you didn't consciously clock in the moment.
But the aggregated data shows it.
Exactly. It's external, objective data that supports your own clinical judgment. It helps you spot those potential blind spots, and that's key to ethical practice, key to growth.
So it's not just documenting what happened, but reflecting on how it happened, which is so essential when you're solo. It really shifts documentation from being a chore to being a tool.
It really does. It takes those detailed compliance requirements from BHEC and turns them into something supportive, not just punitive.
So for the clinician who's listening right now, maybe thinking about making this huge, intimidating shift, what is the one single most actionable takeaway they should use today, even before they file any paperwork?
The most grounding thing has to be about your time. Don't worry about marketing just yet. Before you even open your doors, focus on your structural boundaries. Specifically, treat your admin day planning with the same integrity you treat a client session.
Lock it out.
Block it out. Defend it fiercely. Because if you let your time get compromised, all those legal and financial needs they'll invade your clinical focus. And that's a guarantee for overwhelm.
The ultimate protection for your clinical integrity is a well-scheduled boundary. That's how you build a sustainable practice. Protect the business so you can protect the client relationship.
Absolutely. And if you want support, making sure your documentation, your SOP, your DIP, your BIRP notes is compliant and timely, the AI note taker can just dramatically cut down that administrative burden. It allows you to actually set those boundaries and focus on the clinical work you love.
A perfectly executed administrative plan is, in the end, the highest form of self-care. Thank you so much for diving into all of this with us today.